when I became a mother, I realized, holy fuck, this is hard. My parents were doing the best that they could. They were just doing the human experience with what they were given, whatever trauma they were carrying.
Yes.
And their parents were carrying. So I got to this beautiful point that I was able to give them grace. And so now I look back and I'm like, how did my trauma work for me? Like,
I love this.
It's made me tough as nails. It's made me more empathetic to other people. It's made me, like, you start listing the things that your trauma and your parents and your fucked up childhood actually did in your favor.
Yeah.
You don't see it at the time, but you have to be really present in your adult life to want to let that shit go and turn it into something gold.
'Cause it's time for the maker, it's time for the maker, all the soul shakers, call the creator, it's time for the maker, it's time for the maker. We gotta motivate you, motivate, we gotta motivate.
You guys, we have welcome to Time for the Maker. We've got Nicole Alvarez here.
Hi.
Who is a friend of mine and also an eyebrow client.
Yeah.
And she has a lot of, she has a big life of music and loves music. And you've probably heard her on the airwaves on KROQ. She loves rock and roll.
Yeah.
And we met.
It's funny. We met because of a friend of mine who used to post about getting her eyebrows done with you.
Yes.
And I've never let anybody touch my face. Like, eyebrows weren't my thing. But one day I decided, I don't know why, I'm like, I'm going to call this person. And I think it was fated. Now that I look back, we're supposed to know each other.
100%.
And it's one of those things where I couldn't explain it. I went to you, and from the second I sat down in your chair, it was not only like we got along as friends, but it was a spiritual connection, like on another level.
Yes.
And now we're here.
I agree. It was a sisterhood from the beginning. And you actually DM'd me a while before I actually met you.
Yeah.
You hit me up a few times, and you came to me at my home.
Yes, I did.
Because we were in the middle of lockdown,
And I got to see, I walked into your space, and I think that's when I felt like I'm supposed to know this person, because her space is full of art and crystals and these books that I was so interested in, and astrology and like Stevie Nicks and musicians. And it just I was so overwhelmed, remember? I just wanted to sit on your couch and like rummage through your things.
I know.
But yeah, you're a very special human.
So are you.
Thanks, babe.
And it's so great to be here with you right now.
I know.
And you're so inspiring in my life. I've always loved the radio. I have. And like a lot. It's just like this authentic part. It's been around forever.
Legacy media is what they call it now.
Okay, thank you.
Legacy
Correction.
media. Yeah, but
Legacy
it is radio.
media. Yeah, is that really? So when
radio, I mean, I was not necessarily particularly interested in radio per se, but when I was about 10 years old, I would sit in the car with my dad and listen to this rock station in Miami where I grew up. And there was a woman who had this like raspy voice, and she was always at concerts. And it played all the music. She played all the music that I loved. And I remember looking at my dad saying, I'm going to take her job one day. And to me, radio was, okay, I can't sing and I can't play instruments, but maybe I can talk on the radio and hang out with musicians and go to concerts. So it was my entryway into the life that I wanted. So that was it. So it wasn't necessarily radio as much as it was, this is my ticket to the life that I want.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, because if you don't, like, I wanted to be surrounded by music, but I can't sing except for in the shower where I'm like Fiona Apple. And I couldn't play instruments, and I'm not disciplined enough to sit there and learn one. I feel like people that play instruments, like it comes out of you. I don't have that. So I was like, what else can I do? I could just charm the masses with my personality and go to concerts and hang out with rock stars.
Yeah, and this is, it's...
And it was radio, and I was in college, and I had just gotten dumped by my first boyfriend. And do you remember your first heartbreak?
Oh.
It was
beyond
devastating.
Yes.
I locked myself in my dorm and I listened to Dave Matthews.
Hell yeah, DMB.
I listened to Dave. I remember that it was a double record. It was Dave Matthews and Tim Reynolds live at Luther College. And finally my roommates, I was in Jacksonville at the time, my roommates were like, you've got to get out. And so they took me to a club, and the local radio station was there. It was a rock station. Mm-hmm. And I remember standing in the back of the room going, what would make me happy? Working for that radio station. They play the music I like. So I ran upstage and I asked, who do I need to talk to about an internship? they gave me a name and a number, and I started calling ferociously
Yes.
for a few weeks. And they finally called me back, and she was like, "You are relentless, this woman, Tina." And she goes, "I'll hire you as like, a promo intern." And that was how I got into radio.
This is amazing.
Yeah. And then
How many times do you think you called?
it was like 2 weeks straight, nonstop, every day, 7 times a day.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wanting something that
Yeah.
you feel pulled into and not
Going after it.
going after it.
Yeah.
And it worked for you.
And I recognized to her in every message that I left, I know I'm being persistent. This is not me being obnoxious. I just really believe that I can serve you in some way, and I'll work so hard. And so by the time I was there for a month, and I walked up to the program director of the rock station, and I just blatantly looked at him and I go, "When are you going to put me on the air?"
Yes. Only 30 days.
Only 30 days. And he gave me my first overnight shift.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So I've always just seen a pathway to the life that I want, and then just asked for the things that I want. And then I've busted my ass once the door is open, but I've never not asked for what I want.
It's amazing.
Ever.
And then you've been granted what you were asking for.
I think it's my manifestation abilities with music are wild. Everything, I got into radio. The reason I wanted to go to shows and stuff was because I loved Pearl Jam and I wanted to meet Eddie Vedder.
Yeah.
And
This is the honest truth, everybody.
this is the honest truth. And when I first worked at KROQ, the very first musician that I met was a guy named Tim Armstrong from Rancid, and he was playing a Ramones tribute with Eddie Vedder, and he invited me as his guitar tech, and he took me straight to Eddie Vedder.
Oh my God.
That was like my first week at KROQ. So
just like that.
Yeah.
And that was your intention too. Like
That was my
That was
intention.
kind of Eddie Vedder was kind of like a guiding light.
Yeah.
And then you ended up meeting
Yeah.
him right away.
Yeah, and now his daughter babysits my daughter.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I've gone to 119 shows now. I'm in with the camp, but more so than that, I have loved music so much my entire life. The love that I have, the way that I feel when I'm around music, even if it's just hearing a song on the radio, it changes the molecules in the room. It's not just a song for me. It is source.
Amen.
And I think that everybody in their lives has to find that source. It doesn't have to be music. It doesn't even have to be art. But there is a source that we all connect to that helps you get to a place of gratitude. Where when I'm involved with music, if I'm at a show singing, the whole world could be burning around me, and I would still be so happy.
Yes.
I'd be like, fuck it. When you get to that point that this moment is all I need, I am grateful. You want nothing else. You covet nothing else. You're not complaining. That opens up a portal to me, to manifestation, and that I've always, because of music, been able to reach. And it also helps me. I've been able to grant so many dreams because of music, because of where I work.
Music fairy.
I'm a music fairy.
I
I'm
call
able
you the
to
music
get
fairy.
every time somebody's like, "I don't want to ask you for tickets. I don't want to ask you for this." I'm like, "Ask me."
Yeah.
I have
wanna
the
give that
ability
to you.
to do that for
Yeah.
you, and it comes back to me. So you're actually helping me.
Yes. Which is
So we're all
interesting. Yeah,
helping
we're
each
helping
other.
each other. And it's kind of like a cycle, right? Because
Yeah.
you have, sent me to some shows.
Yeah.
And I really needed those shows.
And at the time that you went to those shows specifically, because I've seen you struggle.
Yes.
But you
On my journey, yeah.
always managed to somehow evoke the physical ability to get to the show.
Yes.
And when you do, the sparkle in your voice when you're just telling me about it, and the way that it pushes your creative abilities is. Imagine me watching that.
Well, and it's amazing that we're sitting here talking about that because
Yeah.
you do have a lot to do with even this existing.
that makes me.
Because I know, tears, it's gonna happen. Your life that you have created for yourself has inspired me on my path. And I see when I connect with you, always, every time, I see more of myself and versions of myself that I'm meeting again that maybe I lost along the way on my journey. And we've all been going through life, So
Haven't we?
and I just love these shows that I've gone to that you gifted me. Can I talk about one of them?
Go
The
for
Red
it.
Hot Chili Peppers at the Fonda in
Yeah,
the lockdown.
that was pretty
Girl,
cool. Oh, that was special.
Dude.
That was special.
And they were the second band I ever saw live. And it was STP when I was younger, and then it was STP and Red Hot Chili Peppers. So for me to go back and see the Red Hot Chili Peppers at the Fonda in the middle of the lockdown when things started opening up, it was such life force energy. You brought rock and roll back into my body.
Yeah.
It was like this.
That's who you are.
Yeah, and it's also LA too, so it was like rock. It was
John
Red Hot-
Frusciante did something special that night. I forget what he covered, but he covered something really special that night.
Well, there was Funkadelic. Wasn't Funkadelic?
There was all kinds of things, but there was one moment, and I'll dig it up later. Maybe you can like insert a clip.
Yeah,
but
okay,
that was
yeah.
a very special moment.
Yeah, it was an amazing night. And that's just one of the things you sent me to. I see you when you go to Spain and you're in Barcelona, and I mean, you just have this.
I go, so how do we can talk forever about all kinds of things in a non-linear way, but I was lucky. I had a very interesting childhood. Like my parents were divorced at a pretty early age, both very volatile. I grew up in Miami in the 80s. Both of them were very young when they got married, and when they got divorced, they were still young. My mother, the most gorgeous woman in the world. My father, this handsome man. Growing up in 80s Miami, I don't have to say it, but there was a lot of like, chemicals floating around, and my parents definitely did all of them in front of me. And it was growing up like that. And then there was like, I had ties to the mafia through an uncle.
God.
And it was just, my childhood was 10 lifetimes all in one. But something about it, something about the craziness. We all look back and complain about our childhood. Nobody's had an easy one. We've all had something, right?
100%. All of our trauma, it all stems from that time.
I love my trauma.
Yeah, I love that you can say that.
I have learned to love my trauma because it made me this hungry, passionate person who only knows big moments in life, whether they were very traumatic or like when my mom had her shit together and it was very beautiful, but they were all very, very, right? So growing up and becoming the woman I am now, I have learned to chase life. And I travel all the time by myself, or I drag friends. I've been running with the Bulls. I've gone to Oktoberfest. I've done the Kentucky Derby. I'll go to the big festivals. And that's with like, I'm not a rich person. I'm just financially irresponsible. I just know.
Let's get real.
I just know that if I invest in myself, if it's my last penny that I'm traveling with, it always comes back.
Yeah.
Somehow or another, I'm always okay.
Well, you have a lot of trust in your vision and your joy and what fuels you, and the chaos, like you said, and your trauma. You've alchemized it in a way that it has sent you into a path of alignment.
How do you make your trauma work for you? And I've just learned
love that.
how to
Can
make...
I just gotta...
Yeah. So there's so many people...
That's amazing.
Including one of my siblings who looks back on our childhood and he's so angry. God, I hope he never hears this. I don't give a shit. He's so angry at it. And there's so many people in their adult lives that are still mad at their parents.
Yeah.
And their lives. And I had it so hard. When I became a mother, I realized, holy fuck, this is hard. My parents were doing the best that they
can.
They were just doing the human experience with what they were given, whatever trauma they were carrying.
Yes.
And their parents were carrying. So I got to this beautiful point that I was able to give them grace and thank them for they kept me fed, they kept me clothed. And so now I look back and I'm like, how did my trauma work for me? Like,
I love this.
It's made me tough as nails. It's made me more empathetic to other people. It's made me like, you start listing the things that your trauma and your parents and your fucked up childhood actually did in your favor.
Yeah.
You don't see it at the time, but you have to be really present in your adult life to want to let that shit go and turn it into something gold.
100%.
Yeah.
Alchemize it. Into something, like you said, make it work for you. How can I take this and find the pearl?
And forgive your parents.
Yeah, and forgive your parents, everybody.
I mean, I understand that some are worse than others, so let's, situation by situation, but for the most part, if all they did was, they forgot to hug you sometimes or they were always fighting, that's probably not what they wanted to do.
No, and I love that you say this because it's everybody's doing the best they can at the capacity that they have, what they have,
Yeah.
and the trauma that they came from. And I love that you were able to expand through motherhood and understand that, because not everybody
No.
gets to that place of forgiveness and understanding and compassion, and it's probably why you're still in such alignment and so vibrant, because you've been able to release that heaviness, because it is a density when you go through healing and where you came from in your childhood. And, you know, you didn't receive what it is that you needed to receive growing up, but who really did?
I don't want to be a victim of my life.
Yeah, no.
I don't want to look back and be like, woe is me.
Yeah.
I rather be a warrior of trauma. And trauma is just information, is all it is. And you use it to make the right choices for the life, to get to the life that you want to get to.
This is you're literally telling me exactly what I need to hear right now.
I have to be honest about how I forgave my mom.
Yeah.
Because my mom is a real something. I'm sure most people have a mom that's a real something. But it was the pandemic, and I had just gotten my tax return, and I went home. Everybody's losing their minds, right? And I opened the computer and I was like, how do I get the fuck out of here? Meaning the United States.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to leave.
I'm out.
I understand that it's lockdown, but it gave me a list of places that were open. And one of them was Bora Bora. But it was half of what it would usually cost.
Amazing.
So like the average person could actually go there. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go.
I did not know this. This is amazing.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the tests, the COVID tests. I'm going to wear the masks. I'm going to jump on a flight to Tahiti and a puddle jumper to French Polynesia. And I got an over-the-water hut for next to nothing. And I stayed there for 7 days. I swam with sharks, and I read a book about ayahuasca.
Okay. Yes.
And I decided, so LA, on my ayahuasca ceremony.
With that yoga mat, my ayahuasca.
But this was always something that I was drawn to. Like alternative therapy was something I've always been intrigued by. I'm sorry, my voice is a little raspy today. But I read a book on ayahuasca, and I'm like, it's time. So when I got back to LA, I called a woman who I knew, and she facilitated the ceremony for me. And I'll give you the quick breakdown, but you do the ceremony, you set your intention, you drink the drink. And I sat there, and what it showed me was my mom. My mom carrying she was like carrying this big sack on her back, and it was basically she was carrying all this trauma that she wasn't able. I saw her like hunched over, barely making it up a hill, and I realized in that moment that she was unable. She is suffering under the weight of her own trauma, so she was barely surviving, and that's how she raised me, with the bare minimum that she had. So in that moment, I decided, I'm going to take this from her and let her stand up straight and give her grace.
So you were able to experience how it felt to be her and understand it.
I saw her for the first time.
Like
I was
really
able to
saw
see
her.
her for the first time, and I was like, I don't want that for my mother. And then I realized I was stronger than her, and I'm like, I'll just take that. And from that day forward, even when she drives me insane, and she does.
Yeah, it's her job.
I don't have the heart or the ability to yell at her, because I know that she is stuck under her trauma.
Yeah.
And that's it. Think about it. Like our generation, we talk about mental health. Mm-hmm. It's a conversation, and it's a conversation that people can have easily. And we have tools and resources and therapy and psychotherapy and alternative therapy. Our parents didn't. Their parents didn't. And if you so much as mentioned you should go to therapy, they would get insulted. So
yeah, it's a generational thing.
Yeah.
It was not, it wasn't as normalized as it is now. And there was like a revolution of, I think, with the Eastern medicine revolution and like the yoga and all that healing that happened in the 70s and the music of that time. That was like a decade that's like the best decade of music. But that pushed a lot of awakening in spiritual healing. My parents were kind of part of that. My dad is Armenian, so he had that generational trauma. Which I know, I don't have to. I can feel it, right? And we've talked about this. And it's interesting, like you said, when you learn like where we are right now, we have the ability to actually really understand that generational trauma, where our parents came from, where our ancestors came from, and then we get to honor them. And then we can also understand why maybe we have anxiety or health issues that are the way that they are.
Yeah.
And then we have this kind of have a level of freedom and understanding and knowledge right now to heal those and clear it, which is an honor.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's easy.
It's not easy at all.
No.
No, and there's some days that you're like, fuck that. But I honestly think it's time for all of us, especially of this certain generation, to forgive the past and just be informed by it.
I love this.
Yeah.
I wish I could. I mean, hold on. Be informed by the past.
No,
What'd you say?
Forgive the past
Forgive
and
the
just
past.
be informed by it. And it's honestly as simple as that, because otherwise you are wasting the rest of your life. You're wasting every
now.
second. You're wasting now.
Present.
And it's no wonder that people can't be present or fully grounded in their moments, because you're so busy back there or worrying about over there. You have to be here, but you gotta untether from the weight of the past and just forgive it.
Oh my God, I just love it.
Yeah.
Cut through it with your awesome Bronco, put the top down, drive across the fucking town,
a lot
blasting
of
your
it.
rock and roll. Just,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's kind of what I do.
Yeah, no, I could see it. I could feel it in you when you pulled up today. I was like, this is why I love this car.
But music has been a constant companion for me, and it's how I ended up at KROQ. I worked in radio very, very little outside of LA, which, if you know people in radio, they're gypsies, and they work at like 100 radio stations first. And I only had 2 for very little time, and I've been at KROQ for 21 years. I've seen a lot of the greats come and go. I don't know how I'm still there, but the only thing I can think is I come from a very self-aware, genuine place. I don't have to fake. My love of music has kept me in the business and has kept me where I am, I think.
Is there like a, I think we kind of spoke about this before. Is there anything that kind of disheartened you in the music realm? I don't know, a concert, an artist that was quickly redeemed by something else in the same environment, or
I mean, some of the musicians that I deal with are fucking assholes. Honestly.
Yeah. No one's perfect.
No, but some of them, most of them, are very lovely. The only thing I've been disheartened by is the amount, the ego.
Yeah, it happens.
The ego, but the ego is mostly running rampant in the most insecure of people.
Yeah, because it's protection.
Yeah.
To how fragile someone it feels in their confidence.
But they ruin they ruin it for everybody.
Yeah. It only takes one person, really, to
Yeah.
just kind of throw a wrench in a project or an environment or
I work in this business, so there's a lot of people, if you go to a show and you're like backstage, that will be talking to you but looking over your shoulder to see if there's somebody more important that walks in.
Oh, yeah, it's weird.
That shit sucks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't, there's a lot of people higher ups that work in the music industry that I don't even think like music or go to shows.
They're just money.
It's just money and like the pass, and like I call them the forum club, the forum club cake people. There are people that'll go in the forum club and they just take the picture of the cake to prove that they're in the forum club, but they never actually see the show.
That's so weird.
It's like a status thing. So like the business part of it I don't love.
It's like oil and water.
Yeah, but I steer clear from it as much as possible.
Yeah, because that it bothers all of us when that's
gross.
around. Yeah,
it's just gross.
It's
But
not
we
why
live
you're
in
there.
LA. We live in LA, so it's everywhere. It's not just music. It's everywhere. But that's been disheartening. And I've interviewed like one hero that was such a dick. But then I realized I found a way to give it grace. I was like, okay, this is who he is. This is who he is, and you knew that. What did you expect? A hug and brownies? So I
brownies
would
would have been nice. You know?
Yeah, because I brought him a present and everything, and I'm like, this guy could have been my biological father.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who it is.
Can you?
It was Rob Zombie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was Rob Zombie.
Oh.
But he's not a bad man.
No.
He was just not gonna braid my hair or bring me brownies.
Yeah, or you in that space at that time too.
Yeah, and who knows?
You never know what's going on with somebody.
Who also when we meet people and they don't meet our expectations, or they don't make us feel good, or we have a bad interaction, we don't know what happened the 5 minutes before they got to us, or the entire day. So we have to give each other a little more grace.
Yes.
And maybe a second chance.
Yes. And this goes everywhere, not just in all environments.
In all environments.
I've been through, I have learned to expand my understanding of that when I'm out in the world. Like if someone's moving really slow, I'm moving fast. I'm like, wait a minute, check them out. Maybe they're taking their time. They're not feeling
Why are
good.
they
Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like this car's going really slow. Well, that car has a 93-year-old grandmother who can barely see. You know, just don't get mad. Go around.
And I've been the honker,
Right?
the asshole that
Yes,
honked at the slow
we all
car.
were.
Okay?
We all
And I'll
were.
drive by and I'll see this like tiny little 89-year-old woman who could barely see above the steering wheel and is scared shitless.
She's got the big glasses on.
She's so scared. She doesn't even want to be driving.
No.
And here I just nearly killed her like by honking. I just nearly put her into anaphylactic shock.
Yeah.
So I have learned
Take a breath.
I have learned to take a breath.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot through the music industry, but I've also realized, and I think I just realized this in this instant talking to you,
Yeah.
is it is such a privilege to have the ability to learn every day,
Yeah.
to continue to be a student of
Yeah.
life. Like what we just talked about.
Yeah.
I just learned now because of that little old lady that I almost killed by giving her a heart attack. I learned.
I'm all laughing.
I forgave myself and I was like, take this as a lesson and do better, and you learn.
Yeah, and it's a blessing to be able to learn and understand even when we're being challenged day to day.
Yep.
You know, and it's even more of a blessing if you get to move your body and drive your own car.
I know.
You know,
And I
it's
know
so
that
simple in these like
it's the simplest thing.
Yeah.
I go to a class every morning and my instructor, because some of us like you don't want to work out at 7 a.m, but we go in there.
I'm impressed
huffing.
with you, by the way.
Thank you.
You inspire me. I can't wait.
I
till
somehow
can become
condition
that.
myself to do that, but we go in there huffing and puffing and like, I have to go to class. And he looks at us, he goes, you get to come to class. You get to be here. You get to move your body for 1 hour to
I love
these
this guy.
fucking awesome songs that I'm going to play.
Yeah.
And you get to dance in this very supportive room. And you get to leave here full of endorphins and conquer your day. So shut the fuck up.
Oh my God, I love this guy.
And I'm like, yes, sir. I've been going to his class for a decade.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What'd you say it is?
This was my soul cycle class.
yeah,
And I
so,
won't ride
yeah.
with anybody else. It's him.
It's
I
him.
don't even think the workout is that great. It's what happens when you find the right leader.
And he inspires you because you'll post about
I
it and
post
write
about
these
him.
beautiful learnings,
Yep.
awakenings, and you'll be like, I got out of Soul Cycle, and then
And it's
this
not just a
happened. Yeah.
class. It's like I close my eyes and I hear the things that he said. He said something the other day and I wrote about it. He said, confidence is not walking in a room and thinking that you're better than anybody. Confidence is walking in a room and knowing you have nothing to prove.
I love that.
And I love that. And he says, there was one time I was going through something, and I think everybody else's opinion of me was defining me at the moment. I wasn't on my best behavior. I wasn't my best self. So I was crumbling under the weight of what everybody else perceived me to be.
Yeah, that's rough.
And I remember him going, and he said it just like this. He goes, you know that place in your mind that you go to, that place in your mind where you don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. I want you to live there. And the day that he said that, it all changed.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I've been residing there ever since.
Yeah. And it helps you because whenever you're walking around with other people's perceptions of you, I don't know,
the
it's paralyzing.
worst. It is. I think it's
You forget yourself kind of
I
in a
think
way,
it's
right?
the worst self-punishment
Yeah.
in the whole world. It's kind of like a prison.
Yeah, it is purgatory.
It is. And it's the worst place to be. When I go to Soul Cycle,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one person in the room that looks like a drunk Muppet because I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't want to do what the room is doing. I'm going to do whatever I feel because the music makes me want to dance a different way. And I've been realizing lately that I've achieved somehow a very liberated state where even today I walked in, I'm like, there's hair dye on my forehead because I dyed my hair black yesterday. And I'm like,
It looks good.
I don't need to look I want to live in the most liberated state because when you walk in a room as exactly who you are,
That's enough.
but you also unshackle the other people around you that are ready to go there.
Yeah.
Not everybody's ready to go
No,
there.
yeah.
But to be in the presence of somebody who is super cool in their own shoes and it's like, this is who I am.
It's inspiring.
It's lovely. It changes the molecules in a room. And I would always want to be the person that comes in a room and just makes it better.
Yes, and you do.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah, you do.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What exactly made you settle on the concept for this show? Like, what is it that you want people to know about the makers or like the people that you put in my chair? What is it that you want your audience to get from this?
So the purpose of it is to inspire people to tap into their creative selves, or even if they maybe aren't as creative themselves, which I believe everybody is creative.
I do too.
We're all makers.
I do too.
And even if we're not maybe making, that maybe we're inspired to absorb the creative world. Because like you said, you're like, I don't make the music, but you amplify the music.
Penny Lane.
Yeah, you're Penny Lane, girl.
Penny Lane.
And that's so important. And two, you send that off into the airwaves that ripples out an effect, and like you send it back to me, and then I tap into my creative world too. And that's the whole point, is to awaken the creativity in everybody, and also to understand that this part of the world is a safe space.
It is.
It's here to take care of us and love us and heal us and bring us medicine and keep the joy alive and keep us moving forward in this world, because right now we're up against information.
Dementors. If you watch Harry Potter, Dementors. There's some crazy shit, and I don't.
We have to counteract it. We have to be the
think
antidote.
We've seen scratch the surface of the crazy shit that's going to go down.
And the thing is, we can at that time allow it to crumble and create this new world, which has always existed, but where we really value the creative people, the makers, the people who support the creative communities, and it all comes down to the fact that when you're living in alignment and you're true to yourself, like you said, and you take your trauma and you make it work for you, you are kind of unstoppable. That's a superpower.
Your trauma is information.
Yeah, trauma is information. And I love that. And that's the part of doing this. And it was also a hook in the song, my single, which is Motivate. Time for the maker. It's time for the maker. And since our worlds, and I bring people in whose life revolves around creativity in some capacity.
There's so many people that are stuck in trauma that it ends up poisoning them. And so if they see somebody being creative, they'll make fun of them. We don't create the space for our peers, our friends, our family members to feel like they can fully express themselves without them feeling embarrassed
or judged.
Why is that? We are the front line. Why aren't we doing more to support each other?
That's amen.
Yeah.
That's the front line.
We're the front line.
Yeah. I posted, I don't know if you saw, I posted it. The real who said it? Famous person said it, but it said the real architects of change in society and is the creative community.
Yes.
Leadership.
I believe that.
And the systems behind that follow those paths. We see it happen all the time. It's like, the arts, remember the arts district? I mean, now, boom. It's like we light these little sparks and then it just goes boom. And then the money follows. So, but we have to honor each other and kind of always know that we're in that seat. Because if we know that we're in that seat, then we won't be so absorbed in, I'm going to rhyme right now. We're all going to be absorbed in our defeat.
Is this a song? Is this a song?
I think I'm writing a song right with you right now. Yeah.
Jesus. I didn't think I was musically talented.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you are. Well, first of all, you won't be so absorbed in our defeat, right? Yeah, first of all, you are a writer, okay?
Yes.
And that's part of I see this. I mean, hey,
But not a studied writer.
Yeah, but who is?
I know.
Not everybody is.
What I wanted you, there's so many beautiful things that are popping up in my mind through this conversation. I think
I know, we always see a lot of stuff.
For example, whenever people think of they're not creative or they're not artists, conversation is an art. How about you learn that amongst your friends and your family?
You were dropping so many bombs in
But
there.
it's true. It doesn't have to be I can paint, I can sing, I can act. Conversation is an art.
Amen.
And the way that I interpret your paintings, my interpretation, what comes over me, that's an art that inspires you to do more. There's so much hidden art within us, but we need to redefine what being a creative is.
Oh my God, I love this. Yes.
Yeah.
There's so much hidden art. There's so much art hidden within us.
Within us, but we need to redefine what it is to be a creative.
Yes, and here we go.
Yeah.
We're redefining it right now.
You can start with, sit down with one of your friends. Put your fucking phones away. Create a beautiful space around you. Put some music on. And have a conversation that doesn't have to do with an ex, hating your past,
Gossip.
or talking shit about another,
Yeah.
or harping on the way that the world is or politics.
Yeah.
Literally,
No low dimension.
Have
lower
no
dimension.
low vibes. Have a
Amen.
conversation. And by the end of that conversation, if you leave all that shit off the table, you have just made art.
Oh my God, this is so great.
It's
you guys hear
true.
that? I hope you guys do it because this is awesome.
It's true, though.
And think about that. There's intention in that.
There's intention in
You know
that.
what? I love what I just heard,
There's
you know?
wisdom.
Yes. And we need more of that.
Yeah. And you start, when you hear yourself create conversational art, the confidence that comes within you, it's what helped me become a writer.
Yeah.
That's how. It was through conversation.
Yeah.
It was through conversation and observation. Those two things helped me.
Conversation and observation.
Those two things have helped me. And look, I'm not a studied writer. I've never been to, I'm not an author or anything like that, but I know I could write.
Can I read something you wrote?
Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, God.
It's on your bio, so.
Yeah, sure.
But it made me cry.
Okay.
And, you know, I had to, like, prepare for this.
Okay,
So, and then
okay.
I texted you,
Give
like,
it to
late at
me.
night.
Give it to me.
And I was like, girl, you just made me cry.
Give it to me.
I hear music in a different way than most people, and because of that, I can speak for it, and I hope to do it justice. Just so you know, dear reader, my greatest achievement has been staying in a loving and committed relationship with music for the entirety of my life thus far. My next great achievement will be making it to the end, still as love, with it
Still
as
in love
ever.
with it as ever. Yeah.
Oh my
God. I did
God.
write that.
You fucking wrote that.
Wow.
I want to cry. I have
got
so many
teary-eyed.
goosebumps.
I got
Do you
teary-eyed.
understand how that makes a listener feel, but also a music maker feel? Like, it's like you. It's great because your words and your presence and your energy alone remind the ones that are making it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it like this too.
It's been the most constant companion, and I've been angry at it in professional spaces, like at the
course.
industry, right?
Yeah.
And things like that. There are songs that tear me apart. There are then the logistics of like there are things revolving around music that have been off-putting. But there's never been a time that I have never wanted music first, in the middle, and last. There's never been a time that I don't get in my car and it's the first thing I think of. It's what I want to hear when I go to sleep. There's just never been a time that I've ever wanted to part with it in any way. And I'm still so enamored
It never ends.
with it. And I'm still so like, I still hear songs at my age and I obsessively listen to them, or like I start researching. I buy merch.
Yes, I love merch. T-shirts.
I still can't sleep like 3 days leading up to a concert and buzzing after. And it's besides my daughter.
I wish I had a tissue for you.
No, I don't need it. I love it. It's the love of my life. And I hope that at the end, like the last thing I hear is a note of like the song I love the most.
Oh, you
like
will.
one note.
I guarantee you're gonna have a choir of angels playing this song. It's gonna be like like a Pearl Jam concerto.
I talk about it. I talk about it every day. I had to do my estate because I have a daughter, so I had to do estate planning. Like, you know, if I die, this and this. And
The reality check, huh?
I gave the lawyer a playlist because what do you want me to do with this? I'm like, this is the order I
love
want
you.
these songs played in my cremation ceremony. And I go, doesn't everybody do this? And he looked at me like, no. And I go,
This is amazing.
he goes, we could put it in the safe with the will or whatever. And I'm like, no. This
No,
goes
that's-
before the will.
Yeah, this is important.
This is gospel.
Yeah, we need the gospel
Motherfucker.
lined out for the whole thing.
It's one of those. It's just music is the greatest love of my life. I've always wanted to know what it feels like to be your kind of creative, like to write a song and play an instrument. Because I write, but also my relationship with music is as somebody who absorbs it, and then it feeds my energy, and my energy changes the room.
Yeah.
So
It's all similar.
all these moving parts need to work together.
Yeah.
But the music comes out of you. What the hell?
No,
does that
it's
feel
almost like it comes through, but for me, it's like an agitation. Like I get like, like, you know, like before you have to work out or
Yeah.
you have to
Or
release.
poop.
Yeah. Or sit on the pot.
Sorry.
For lack of a better word.
I'm never usually that childish or
but
crass.
we just really want to get the point across for you guys here. Yeah, that's that pressure, and it hits my body, and it's like it's got to get out. Otherwise, it stays in there, and it gets not good for me. I have to keep things flowing. I have to keep using my voice. That's why I'm doing this too. I have to communicate and conversate as an art with other people to keep the pressure going through me, not getting stuck within me. When it comes through, because I'm a deep person like you,
Writing
so I feel
comes
like,
through like
yeah,
that.
like that. For me,
Right.
it's a similar, and then I hit with the sound.
Does it happen all of a sudden sometimes, and you're like, I need to stop what I'm doing?
It's like a train.
Okay.
Like, boom, and I'm like, I got to get this out. I got to get this out. Boom, 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 bam, and then I'll go through a emotional release, and then sometimes it's like I'm radiating so much energy. It's like a channel.
It leaves you buzzing.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck, I think this is good. I think like I'm by myself, and then I'm like walking around my house like, fuck yeah, like
you feel like you can conquer the world.
yeah, and also conquer my, shadow self.
Music and
The pain, the trauma, the shit that I've been through. I alchemize it through sound and art, and it is why I'm alive still. I think it's why we're both here still.
Yeah.
It's life force energy for us,
I mean, the way that people don't forgive, I understand that some trauma is a little more harsh. Like, the dark trauma that I'm talking about where
and
it's
there's
like...
can take a lifetime working on
Right.
it. Yeah.
But some of the greatest art in the entire world, some of your favorite songs, some of your favorite movies, some of your favorite people wouldn't exist without trauma. No. Without
That's why
pain,
they're so
without
good.
heartbreak.
Tina Turner.
So the fact that I'm not encourage trauma, but that we don't give it a little more
credit
is wild to me.
Well, I love that you say make it work for you. And that's a great message for the people who are listening. Guys, whatever it is that you're going through, make it work for you.
Make it work for you.
That's what I'm doing in my life with this podcast. Make it lay out some plans, some steps in front of you so you may walk through what it is you're in. It's like, did you see Shawshank
Create
Redemption? Did we?
Of course.
Okay, did I tell you that I just saw it for the first time this summer?
Really?
Yeah, because I did a poll online.
Andy
Everybody's like,
Dufresne crawled through I don't know how many miles
tunnel.
of shit.
I was like, he did it, and he carved it with a spoon.
Come out clean on the other side.
And there he is on the beach. And I'm like, you know what? My tunnel is this podcast.
Yeah.
I am gonna walk through this period of my life that's challenging. I'm gonna create this thing. Andy Dufresne. Yeah.
And you're bringing us with you.
Yeah. We're all in it, right?
It's gonna create such a great ripple effect because I think a lot of people that you put in this chair, I think it will mirror, but I think a lot of the people, I wouldn't have reread what you wrote that I wrote. What you read that
See,
I wrote.
it's almost like you're like, did I write that?
Did I write that?
Yeah,
it didn't
you
even
wrote
sound
that,
like
girl.
It
wrote you.
You're gonna force us to, in the most beautiful way, to reflect on some things, which in turn is going to be like, I want to do more.
Well, let me tell you. Already, what has happened here right now?
Yeah.
You have dropped so many. How many times I've hit this thing over here? I know you've been to 1.5 million, 75 million shows.
Yeah.
But can you tell me one recently, maybe, or of all time,
like a concert that I've been to
that just changed your life?
Oh God.
I know there's so many. Yeah. They all have. But what's one that you'd like to share?
Okay, give me a second because I want to. My God, there's so many, but I'll tell you one that I remember. I never want to lose this feeling. I was a little girl. Mm-hmm. My mother took me to see the Purple Rain tour.
Oh, wow.
Inappropriate. I was like 7. I had no business there. It was a school night. And somehow I was in like the second or third row with my mom and her hot friends. My mom is still the most beautiful thing, but in her youth was one of those like, shit. And I remember, singing Darling Nikki because I thought that was like Nicole, but I remember my mom smacking my hand because the words were inappropriate for me to be singing, but I remember Purple Rain. And I remember looking around me and seeing all these grown-ups because I was a little girl, but I remember, and we were all bathed in his purple light. Yeah. And he was right in front of me, and I'm like, I don't know that much about this person, but he seems to have this command over this room. And I just remember that I felt something during the ooh, hoo, 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 that part that made me feel as tall, if not bigger than the room. And I was, and it came from here. It
Rock
came
and roll.
from my chest.
Rock and roll can make you feel 10 feet tall.
Yeah, and it came from my chest, and I just remember my favorite thing. I looked around, and I didn't know to do this because I was so little, but I remember throwing my hands up in the air and flinging my head back and feeling like I lifted up. And I've never been happier to breathe in that moment. And that was a really heavy thought for a little girl. And I just remember wanting that feeling all the time.
There it was.
Yeah.
That was the beginning.
That was the beginning.
That was the spark.
That was one of them. But I've had so many. I can tell you so many beautiful. They keep me going. They do. I will go. There's parts during an Arcade Fire song during Wake Up that everybody's doing that like religious part in that song. When everybody's voice.
Oh my God, I love that
When
part.
everybody's singing the same thing, especially when it's not even lyrics, it's just like a
It's
vibration.
it's like just melody that everybody's doing oohs and ahs.
When everybody marries the frequency of their voice
Together.
and they somehow
humming.
all work, they somehow, there's that point in the show that the voices all connect and you're like, everybody here sounds different, but we're the same.
Harmony.
It will change the molecular structure of the entire state.
It's like liftoff.
If it happened, I went to Red Rocks to see Arcade Fire not that long ago, my first time at Red Rocks.
Oh my God,
And
such an amazing venue.
During that song and during the moment that I'm talking about, I looked around and it was like the rocks and it was the supermoon, and I'm right under it, and there's like a disco ball and everybody was singing arms up, head back, and it's beyond a religious experience.
Especially at Red Rocks.
It changes you, and not in the way that you live your life per se. That can happen too, but I do think it changes your DNA.
It does, but it does. It does change your DNA. I went to a talk at, here we go. I went to a talk at Third Man Records in Nashville, and they had a guy doing a podium from Mississippi Records from Oregon who came in and talked about how music actually changes our cellular makeup from the frequency and vibration. And the reason the bigger music companies they master songs to a certain frequency is because they understand that it can change people. So they master it, I think, to like 333. But the higher the frequencies go up, the more your cells change. And they figured this out in the beginning of the record business when people were just laughing into the radio or, talking it like before music hit the radio back with, I think it was Tesla, or it was when they figured it out. Who was
Minor details.
Yeah. But anyway, it was a whole panel about it at Third Man. And I was like, I was in the rabbit hole of how healing music really is.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so good to have independent music always, because it keeps that needle moving forward.
I also think I feel something happen inside of me when I'm at a show. Not every show, but there's certain moments, even at shows of bands that you don't necessarily know. If you pay attention to the music, there are notes or there are moments or something happens in the room where I feel it inside in a way. I think it keeps you young.
Amen.
I think it's the fountain of youth. Mm-hmm. I think it's medicinal. I think it's a form of therapy that people don't give enough credit to. I think it's, for lack of a better word, magic.
100%.
Yeah.
It is pure magic. We could talk about music for like 95 hours. Like, it literally is that.
What else you got in your notes,
oh yeah. So
sister?
you guys, I have my notebook.
What else you got in there?
I wanted to ask you, which is a question that I ask a lot of people not a lot of people. I've had two guests.
Can't
You're my third.
guarantee an answer, but come on.
It's just, what would you love to see shift in the music world, either in live shows, radio, or legacy media, or anything? It doesn't matter. You can tell me what. For the future, if you had any unrelenting power, like endless ability to shift something,
okay,
what would you want?
I mean, easy. First of all, I would lower fucking ticket prices. Like, the average man cannot go. The average person cannot go to shows anymore. And the average person is the one that makes the music. Like, the average person, the struggles of everyday life that only the average person like really kind of experiences, the non-privilege creates art. So the fact that like some people can't go to the shows, are not accessible, that music is not accessible to some people, is fucking
crime.
wild.
That's a crime.
I also hate that there's like 50 fucking festivals a year. There should be a cap on that shit. 2 festivals at best a year. There's this oversaturated market now where it's not even special anymore.
Yeah, and there a lot of them aren't able to sustain and do it.
And
they're
but
shutting
it's
down
all
and
being
canceling.
driven by greed.
Yes, and that's the thing. It's the top getting in control, and that's why we have to activate ourselves again and remind that we turn that needle.
I was
Put
watching
us
an
back in the
interview.
cycle.
Yeah, I was watching an
Where we're
interview with
leading.
an artist. Then I thought this was really interesting. So he started his band. They're pretty popular, and he's like, I remember singing in street corners. We would just sing anywhere that people would listen to us.
Yeah.
Right. This is the lead singer of Måneskin. His name is Damiano.
Yeah.
Anyways, he was saying he's like we would struggle in vans. We would play at like bar mitzvahs and birthday parties, and then we would go and we would write or we would hang out, and then we got popular. And then we got booked on talk shows. And then we started doing this festival, that festival. And we were so go, go, go. And yes, it was great. And we saw the world and we played the world. But then where does the creativity? Where
Yeah,
we
you
don't
gotta-
have
you
time
have to
to
get
live a
quiet.
life to be creative about.
Yeah, what are you writing about? You
What
have
are
to
you
write
writing
about life.
So I just think there's too much of everything. There's an
Fast.
overconsumption. There's a greed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it comes down to artists simply saying no. And I don't know.
Being in your power and stepping up for yourself.
Make shows special.
Make it special. Don't oversaturate.
No, only because you want the payday, and they're surrounded by just too many greedy people who are convincing them that this is success.
Yeah, and artists are vulnerable. Creative people are vulnerable because we're sensitive, but that's a superpower. You have to know where your boundaries are, and if it's going to compromise your heart in your art, it's a no.
Yeah, I would like to see more artists step into that kind of power and say
I
no to
love
this
this.
bullshit.
Here we are,
Hi.
talking to Nicole Alvarez. Took a little intermission, but we were just talking about the Reality Center and healing through light and sound. So I'm going to be checking that out.
Yeah, it's digital psychedelics and multisensory wellness. And it's in Santa Monica, and I highly urge anybody who wants to heal in a different way to check out the Reality Center.
I wanted to ask you about, is there any band right now that's new that you're loving?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to talk about a band coming up
yeah.
that's young and kicking
Yeah.
ass. 'Cause
I am
you
in a
know what's up.
very like punk, hardcore, in your face kind of place, and there's a
Nice.
band called Idols.
Yes, I know them.
Idols is probably the most exciting band in my orbit at the moment. They have purpose. They have they have like
I saw them.
oh my God. And my favorite show I think that I went to this year in Los Angeles was Idols at the Palladium. And then another band that I love is out of the UK called Soft Play, and also just punk rock, hardcore, in your face. I think we are
Mosh pit?
Yes, mosh pit, and just like yelling, but yelling with a purpose, and like it just makes you feel youthful and sweaty.
Getting it out.
I'm a little bit tired of. I understand pop music. I understand hip hop, all of it, but the world has become so popified. It's everywhere.
You need some rock, dude.
I personally need something
Yeah.
with like hairy, sweaty balls.
I
'Cause
actually know how you feel.
There's only so many times everywhere I go, I hear Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso, which is a great pop song.
I know, and it's got a really good groove.
It is.
It does.
But
It's tight.
It's everywhere.
I know. It's
And
like enough. I need some rock. I
I-
need to feel I need
just
to
need
feel
to
it in my
feel.
bones. I
Yeah.
need to feel. I need to sweat. I need to bang around. I need to shake
All
my
of the
head.
things. I need
think I
sweaty
saw
things.
Idols. Didn't they open up for Red Hot Chili Peppers at the Fonda?
No, they
No.
didn't. But I'm
Who
going to
was
send
that?
you some videos, and they're
Okay.
the most exciting band, I think.
Okay, hear that, everybody? We got some
in
new
the-
music to
in the
listen
rock
to.
world.
All right.
Idols.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Love this. I also wanted to touch base on like my favorite idol.
Oh, Billy Corgan. Yeah.
Can I say what you gifted? Can I say what
Yeah,
you gave
say whatever
me?
you want. Yeah,
Okay.
it's your podcast. So you say
Okay,
whatever
you do whatever you want. Okay. This woman, my friend Nicole Alvarez, sent me to see my favorite band of all time because I'd never seen them. I didn't see them in the 90s because I was young and it just didn't happen. I never made it to a Smashing Pumpkin concert. But she sent me to the Bowl and I had the best seats in the house. I had a box. It changed my life, dude.
When you say that, every time somebody says this song or this band changed my life, how?
It reminded me
Yeah.
of how important music is to me now and how it shaped my adolescence. How Billy Corgan and the Smashing Pumpkins and those songs and the sound. And first of all, they kicked butt. They sounded amazing.
Yeah, when he's on, he's on.
Oh, he's
And
on.
He's been on.
He's been on for a while. I was like, this is how I learned kind of about how I was creatively unique and different and stood out in a crowd, because when he showed up, when Smashing Pumpkins showed up, I was like, there's people out there that are kind of odd and creative and speak to me in a deep, kind of dark space in my heart, and I feel seen.
Yeah.
I feel seen by him.
He's one of your leaders.
He is one of my leaders.
Yeah.
He's one of my leaders.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, totally.
I
so
understand that.
And when I saw it, and you remember Melancholy and Infinite Sadness, the double disc,
Yeah.
that art changed my life. I had that poster all over. I was an art major growing up, right? So that influenced so much.
I could see this. I could see why now.
I'm visual.
Okay.
His music
Okay.
videos, the art, the lyrics, the sound, even Machina of the Gods, that record.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Everlasting Gaze. Like, it just put me into like my adolescence, and I needed to remember who I was, because I have had a journey that has been traumatic in health. And whenever that happens, you lose your identity, you forget who you are. And that show brought me back to remember what the light was like before those big traumatic events.
Yeah.
You're still that girl.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm back.
Yeah, I can
It's
see
like I came
why.
back after that show.
I understand now, knowing you as well as I do, and looking at Billy Corgan, why he is one of your leaders. Because he's a combination of all.
Kind of a monk now.
He's all kinds of things. Interviewing him has been. I have had the privilege of interviewing him in this portion of his life, because I think had I interviewed him earlier in his career, I would have hated him. He even admits that.
Yeah.
And I've had the privilege to interview him twice, and he has forgiven his past. He has forgiven himself. He has given everything around him grace, including his father, which I don't know if you should do a deep dive into his father,
Okay.
which is wild.
Yeah.
But anyways,
All right.
here's something really
check it
for
out.
you really quickly
Yeah.
that I thought was interesting during the last interview, this last record that they put out.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to go back and re-record his past. So he wanted to record this new record the same way that he recorded the very first Smashing Pumpkins record, but with the information that he has about
Now.
life now.
Whoa.
Yeah. So if you hear the first record and this last record, you'll hear one in the infant stages with the trauma and the angst and all that. And you'll hear that same, let's call it a person of a record, but all grown up in this last record.
Amazing.
You'll still hear the same human,
yeah. But
but
healed.
just saying healed, just
Yeah.
saying different things.
More healed.
Yeah.
More grown. More life experience.
Yeah.
And he's a father.
And he's
too,
a
right?
father, and he says that that's changed his life.
Oh,
Being a
yeah.
father and a husband, he's like, I have a really happy family life.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and he
See, I
posts
just
pictures
love
at
him.
Disneyland now, and he loves all kinds of,
empathic.
yeah, he's in a
kind.
good place, and it's
Yeah.
really nice to see artists personally evolve.
Oh my gosh. And I really wish I could go to the show next weekend.
It'll happen again.
Yeah, it'll
They
happen.
tour a lot.
Yeah. I know, because he loves to play.
Yeah.
And we're very happy to have him. When you're preparing to interview
Yeah.
someone that maybe you're like fanning over,
Yeah,
Is there-
times.
a
That
lot of
happens.
times. So what is your process in preparing for this interview?
Well,
How do you center yourself?
I'm gonna be totally honest.
Yeah, let's do it.
I smoke a little weed.
Mhm. Oh, you also.
I don't smoke a lot. I smoke like a bird. I smoke like indica, like
Chipmunk?
just enough to like smooth reality over a little bit. Like I don't want to leave my body, but I want everything to be a little more magical.
You're a little tuned in.
So I
You're
can smoke a
tuned.
little bit, and the first thing I do is the basics. I'll read the Wikipedia from front to back. I'll do that, and then I start watching videos on YouTube. But then I lay in my bed with my headphones on, and I'll listen to certain songs, or if they just released a record, the record. And usually my mind tells me where to go.
Okay.
That's it. My
right.
mind just tells me where to go. And my natural curiosity over this band or these people, every time I sit in a chair, I have a beginning, but then I let the rest dictate itself. And I always have an end. I always have something I want to say at the very end that I want to leave everybody with. So I have a beginning and an end, but the middle is up to the gods.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm like, feel like, do you have that kind of resonates with me? I mean, I don't know. I've only you're my
I don't
third
research
guest.
too much, but I make sure that I respectfully know the basics so they don't feel like they're just sitting there and somebody's
Someone who
just,
doesn't care.
which a lot of times if you watch interviews, a lot of people that do the interviews, they don't know that much. It's so awkward and so cringy to watch. And some of them just want to say things to hear themselves speak or to say something funny.
Yeah.
And like, it's like shut the fuck up.
Directionless.
Again, conversation is an art and you're talking to an artist. So like create art with this artist within this conversation.
Do you have any advice for anyone who would like to step into the world of music in a way where it's not making the music, but it's a way of amplifying the music that you have done?
Well, now with social media, there's so many different avenues that people can take. Like there's so many creators that I follow that all they do is create videos with songs that they like, or they talk about, here's my top 3, or they write about it. Like just create something visually interesting and with passion behind it. But if you want to get into the music industry, internships. The honest way to go is internship.
Okay.
Get one foot in any door and work your way through that.
Yeah.
And make sure that you wear every hat. Like there is no job too small for you. Mailroom, fetch coffee, do all of it.
Amen.
Because if you really want it, you'll get there.
Yeah. And you just got to get in there. You just got to get yourself in the door, and you got to take the time.
It's not that hard
yeah.
either. There's if you go on there's internships all over the place. But if you're more of a creative, then find a niche and create something beautiful using the tools that we all have now available to us. Social media is a wonder.
Yeah, it is. It can really work for us. We're using it now.
Yeah.
Right here.
Exactly.
Okay, these are all great. And now that we're like coming towards the end of our, or just, well, I don't want to say goodbye. Actually, it would be great if we could just stay here forever.
No, but we can. It never has to be goodbye.
How do people find you? Number one,
I spend most of my online time on Instagram, and that's at Nick Alvarez, NICALVAREZ, and then on KROQ every day, 106.7, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Awesome.
And then who knows where next?
I know. I feel like
it's only the beginning.
This is only the beginning. I feel like we're stepping into like a new chapter of our lives, and which is part of why you're here.
Yeah.
Because I was saying, and I don't know if we just got it on audio, but part of the reason I asked you here is because you're part of the reason that brought me here.
I cannot thank you enough for the things that you draw out of me that I didn't even realize I had.
I feel the same about you.
I thought about something really quickly before we end.
Yeah.
I remember, and this happens a lot when I'm in your chair, but when I started going to your house to do my eyebrows, you would say things and I would have to stop and get my phone and take notes, like write notes on shit that you said that I was like, oh my God, okay, no, I need to remember that. So you are a very talented, gifted sorceress.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
You're a musician and a sorceress. You got all kinds of things going on.
That's why we're here, because I can sit in one chair and be all of it.
And isn't it
without,
lovely?
Yeah, without being so confused.
Does it feel like home?
It feels like home because I've been sitting in that eyebrow chair for a million years talking to everybody.
Yeah.
20 years in the beauty industry, all these years growing up in a restaurant, just conversating like you.
The conversation is
and
art.
I do that already. So might as well sit down and talk about all the things we love to do, and who knows where the future, will land. But I'm so blessed to have you come here and share all this wisdom and insight. And I know that our listeners are going to feel the same.
Thank you.
And you did say something to me before we recorded this a couple weeks ago. You said, ask me about my favorite quote.
I said it to you already.
Oh, what was it?
Well, it was at the moment the confidence quote.
Yeah.
But I have so many. Quotes. It was the confidence quote. And I realized, because I remember asking you that, I realized that that's the quote that's resonating with me now, but every season of my life has had one. But I can't think of one that belongs to my entire life yet.
Well, maybe that's coming.
Maybe
you're going to write it.
That is coming. I think I'm going to write it.
You guys, I'm telling you right now, I don't want to put any pressure. I've just opened up a gate.
No.
There's a gate here for you with word.
No. Look at I'm in my thinking phase. Like, look at how I'm sitting. I'm like thinking, no, I want to write it.
Yeah, it's happening.
I want to write something that people want tattooed on their body is what I want. So remember that.
Yes.
That's a goal for me.
That's another one too. Okay.
Yeah. I really do want to write something that people want to tattoo on their body.
Hey, maybe by the next time we have you on here, maybe it'll have already happened.
Yeah, and if it hasn't, then it'll be you.
Yeah, it'll be me. It'll literally say on the inside of my arm, make your trauma work for you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Nicole Alvarez. I love you.
This was a nice little journey. Yeah. Thanks, sister. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Well, that was a great conversation. Thanks to Nicole Alvarez for joining us. I loved what she said. Have your trauma work for you. And that just shot through my body and opened me up to a different perception of my life. And I actually have been using trauma to work for me. That's what this podcast is about. I have been in a state of experiencing a lot of health trauma the past several years. In my 30s, and I used the brink of my trauma to shift me into this new forward motion in this podcast and having guests and creating a creative space to talk about and inspire each other. And for her to say that was just completely aligned for me. And I wanted to just tap into how that maybe is the lesson today for all of us. You know, no one gets out alive, and it doesn't pave an easy road. And we all have childhood trauma, and we have health trauma, or we have grief trauma, work trauma, friend trauma, love trauma. And we got to take that and we got to have it work for us. Like she said, we need to alchemize into our current future selves. And if we could just take all the pain and all the things that has made our lives hard and alchemize it and use it as fuel, then you know, and turn it into art and music and small business ventures and motivation, or just turn it into peace, turn it into acceptance, turn it into love, you know, the world would be a much better place. So today, that was a lesson. May we all have our trauma work for us and create a world that we are proud of. It's time for The Maker. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys soon.